One of the main staples from the Xbox 360 era of gaming that I'll never forget was demos. Little snippets of dozens of games perfect for a 12-year-old Buster McTunder to replay again and again so I could avoid playing Gears of War 3 for the 1000th time. Bulletstorm, Sonic Racers, The Force Unleashed, Dark Void, Left 4 Dead 2, and of course central for today, Lost Planet 2. Now, this is a game that up until a few weeks ago, I knew absolutely nothing about, and I played this demo hundreds of times back in the day. I remember the jungle map, the rain, the monsters, and the big dinosaur in the middle. This is one that was always so interesting to me, and seeing clips online of Marcus and Dom in Lost Planet were just as exciting. Any excuse to tie Gears of War into something else made me happy, but it was always just the demo for me. I never had the money to buy the game itself, and by the time I was working and had a job, well, it was 2020, and we were moving on to the Series S near the end of the Xbox One life cycle. It had entirely passed me by. Until a few weeks ago, I was perusing the Xbox Marketplace, just curious, and I found this one game on sale for a whole $3. Of course, I had to buy it. So join me today as we delve into this game that I had only ever experienced from the outside, and we look at just how well it performs in 2024. Now, this is a sequel, so if you'd like to know more about the experience of playing Lost Planet 1, check out this video that may or may not be out yet by my buddy Ice Cold Snake, who covered the first game. I just wanted to shout him out. The guy makes good content. Go show him some love. Lost Planet is a series by Capcom that began with Lost Planet Extreme Condition in 2006. The sequel came along now in 2010, taking place on the same world with some changes to the story. Unlike the first, Lost Planet 2 is no longer exclusively set in a world drenched in extreme cold, as the world is heating up, revealing some massive swaths of jungle and even deserts underneath. And although personally I've not played the first game, many of the reviews I've seen for it look like number 2 did much the same, but better by pretty much every metric. The game itself is set on Eden 3, 10 years up from the last. There's some major thermal activity on the world, revealing even more biomes to the settlers. It was controlled by Nevik, a kind of colonial force that first came to the planet, and you play as a series of different factions in a semi-anthological campaign. Going from an ex-Nevik snow pirate, yes, pirates of the snow, to special forces to survivors in the desert, some other special forces, and finally Octane. Yes, Octane, but like more of him.
Oh yeah! What do you think you're doing? Isn't it obvious? We are taking it!
They all steal and use thermal energy to keep themselves alive and running, as they've discovered it can be used to heal people in an almost supernatural way, taking said energy from Acrid, the various aliens and other humans you fight against, soldiers, jungle bandits, desert bandits, and more. And the main campaign follows our crew and others as we try to stop a big, gigantic Acrid from falling into the hands of new Nevik, who want to use its natural thermal power, so big it's been creating all of these biomes. With this, they want to eliminate all life on the planet, which obviously would be bad for us. I'm not going to drag you through the whole campaign, because honestly, I thought it was a lot of fun and encourage you to play it yourself. But there will of course be some spoilers here as we talk about it. But as for the game itself, most of the campaign missions revolve around fighting a big alien boss, or going around a map and doing this little minigame time and time again. But the gunplay, how you actually interact with the game, it's essentially Gears Divers of Monster Hunter Evil. Now, that's a hell of a name, so what in the holy hell do I mean by this? Well, let's break it down. Gears. Of course, I mentioned that it had a little tie-in with Gears of War, adding Marcus and Dom as playable skins in the multiplayer, and while it doesn't really play like Gears, Lacking any sort of cover system, I found the single-shoulder third-person shooting in tight corridors to be very reminiscent of Gears, in the same way that hip firing is affordable in Gears of War when you're coming around dense corners to whittle down enemies coming down on top of you. Lost Planet features much of the same when going against the human targets. Divers, well, obviously not inspired by Helldivers, coming a whole 14 years before, if you've played Helldivers, you might get the twinge of relatability. But going with that little bit of evil at the end, this game is like Helldivers if it was anime maxing. Stupid, over-the-top nonsense. Like firing a warhead through a tank on train tracks while doing a flip in the air.
Still not enough. Move out of the way!
It just smells like the ending of Resident Evil 3 to me. But more so with the Divers, Lost Planet features a lot of alien bugs with weak points, but more uniquely, they can be ripped off to shreds and torn apart, just for the largest of the bugs to regrow said bits as you chew through their immense health. Now, to me, these were a lot more fun to fight than any Bile Titan, as the immense scale and size of the Category G Acrid can either make it feel like you're playing a mashup of Mad Max and Shadow of the Colossus, or that you're in Pacific Rim. And this is where the Monster Hunter part comes in, with a lot of over-the-top, very anime-esque fights and cutscenes that are action incarnate. Shoving a train cannon down the throat of a giant bug, fighting mechs underwater flanked on the side by subnautical leviathans, using a litany of oversized guns that are literally ripped off the sides of mechs. It's just pure nonsense, injected directly into the game's vascular system, and boy does it stay consistently goofy the whole way through. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. The goofiness makes it even better. The only downside is that with the biggest Acrid, their regen and big health bar means the fight doesn't really feel like it ever progresses. Their arms and legs don't fall off because you've gotten the fight down so low, but rather because you just did damage to that part. So a leg will fall off and then regrow indefinitely until the whole job is done. I think the sole exception is the Dune Acrid, but that's more of a set piece than a boss fight. Speaking of that fight though, it's something that Lost Planet does better than Gears, and Helldivers kind of does the same. This game is sandbox based. So instead of a Gears game where you have your loadout and other guns you might grab, but special vehicles or sections are only exclusive to set pieces, it's more like Halo, with a spattering of vehicles, mech suits, giant anime cannons, and frisbee grenades. In the same way, during a map of Helldivers you might have to load an artillery cannon manually, so goes the train fight in the dunes, where you and the squad have to individually load, charge, and fire each shell at the Acrid. Meaning, it can be entirely stressful if you play solo, like I did, or incredibly easy with a full team pulling their weight to get the job done. Now, keeping with the Japanese influences to the game, one big thing about the campaign that I still can't figure out is the plot. Now, the basics, yes, there's a big Acrid, blow it up before it refreezes the planet, but anything else? I honestly couldn't tell you. These guys are Nevik Black Ops. They're also clones of a Nevik traitor. They also crashed Nevik's Hammer of Dawn at the end. Okay. Why? It's just never really explained, or if at least it wasn't, obvious. The Octanes, they're kind of Mad Maxy. They're also just here, kind of like Warhammer Orcs, who are here for a good time and don't really contribute much else. The other Desert Wanderers, they're very dramatic and talking about unfinished business all the time, but that just never resolves. Now granted, I never played the first game, so it probably makes a lot more sense if you have, but the game doesn't do much to explain really anything, which isn't a problem. The game is insane off-rip. Now, the biggest thing about Lost Planet 2 is that it shipped mainly as a multiplayer co-op experience. I didn't really get a chance to spend a lot of time with the multiplayer, but it's mostly PvP. And I'm here for the massive bugs. If the games in co-op are anything to go for, I don't think the multiplayer would be that much worse off. Is Lost Planet 2 worth a play in 2024? I'd say yes. If you can get over the janky controls and find it on sale, this game was a surprising amount of fun. There's basically no story, but the short campaign at the very least was well worth the $3 I spent on this game. It's not totally dead either. On 2 separate occasions while playing this game, I had a random Russian man join into the lobby and help me kill the Acrids. So especially if you have a group of friends, a strong Discord community, or other places to find allies, you don't even have to play this one alone. This game was a little delight, and while repetitive at times, and not necessarily making sense all the time, the absolute whack shit craziness it can produce also made it a lot of fun for the ride. Now, I'm not going to be pouring hundreds of hours into this, but as far as a progenitor to games like Helldivers or Space Marine 2, right alongside the other great co-op horde shooters of the 360 era with Gears, Left 4 Dead, COD Zombies, and a litany of dozens more, Lost Planet 2 did a pretty good job. But that's about it for this game. Let me know what you thought down below. Have you played it? Would you? Did you play it back when it came out? All that good stuff down below. With that, we're at the end. Thank you very much for watching. If you've liked this, be sure to leave a subscribe, share, and like the video. One of those, in that order, I think. Maybe. If you want to support what I do here on YouTube, become a member or a patron and get access to every single video up to a week early with some extra bonuses, like being able to read my scripts and see other behind-the-scenes content. And like always, if you want to support me in helping a good cause, pick up something from my merch collections linked below. Whether it's a shirt, jacket, apron, or a mug, each and every dime from sales are being donated to my local food bank. So get yourself an awesome, super soft piece of clothing while doing good at the same time. Also, other promotionals, like if you want more of this, kind of. We did another episode of the Chaos Continuum podcast with Turtle Time from TikTok. Go check this out. It's all about robots and Warhammer and making fun of racists. So it was a lot of, good fun. And also, if your ears are open, I just posted on the channel an album I call Grimdark. This is a collection of music that I have made myself that I've been using in the background of some of my videos. And I figured, why not just share it with all of you? So it's out there now. Enjoy it. As always, stay cool, have fun, and be awesome. Buster out.